Welcome to WebLizard's Cert Lab. This is SC-900 Practice Exam 1, Foundations of Trust. You will work through 45 questions across security, compliance, identity, Microsoft Defender, and Microsoft Purview. Listen for the scope, layer, identity type, and governance outcome that decides each answer. You will hear each complete question and every answer option. For matching questions, you will hear both sides of the match. After the cue, lock in your answer. There is a true 3-second silence. Then the correct answer appears in place. After the reveal, connect the answer to the tested principle and a reusable exam clue. Pause whenever you want more time. Question 1. A company is deploying a publicly accessible web application in Azure. They want protection against volumetric network layer attacks that target IP addresses and protocols. Which Azure service provides this protection at layers 3 and 4 without requiring changes to the application code? Answer A, Azure DDoS protection. Answer B, Azure Web Application Firewall, WAF. Answer C, Azure Firewall. Answer D, Network Security Groups, NSGs. Lock in your answer. That leads to A, Azure DDoS protection. Volumetric or protocol attacks against public IP resources at layers 3 and 4 point to Azure DDoS protection. Web exploits, such as SQL injection, point to WAF. Azure DDoS protection provides always-on monitoring and automatic mitigation for volumetric, protocol, and resource layer attacks at layers 3 and 4. It protects Azure public IP resources without requiring application code changes. Question 2. An organization needs a cloud-native identity and access management service that provides authentication, SSO, conditional access policies, and protection for users, devices, and applications across Microsoft 365 and Azure. Which Microsoft Entra product fulfills this role as the foundational directory service? Answer A, Microsoft Entra Domain Services. Answer B, Microsoft Entra ID. Answer C, Microsoft Entra External ID. Answer D, Microsoft Entra Workload ID. Lock in your answer. Cloud Native Directory plus IAM with authn/c, SSO, and conditional access for Microsoft 365/Azure tenants points directly to Entra ID as the foundational product. Microsoft Entra ID is the core cloud-based IAM service, formerly Azure AD, that every Microsoft 365/Azure tenant receives. B satisfies the requirement, Microsoft Entra ID. It handles authentication, policy enforcement, SSO, and integrates with the broader Entra family for zero trust access. Question 3. A compliance officer needs to download the latest SOC 2 Type 2 report and ISO 27001 certification for Microsoft Cloud Services to support a customer audit. Which Microsoft resource provides these third-party audit reports and compliance artifacts after signing in with an Entra account and accepting the NDA? Answer A, Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager. Answer B, Microsoft Trust Center. Answer C, Microsoft Service Trust Portal. Answer D, Azure Security Benchmark Documentation. Lock in your answer. The Microsoft Service Trust Portal, STP, is the public repository for Microsoft-published audit reports, SOC, ISO, FedRAMP, PCI, etc., white papers, and compliance artifacts. The answer is C, Microsoft Service Trust Portal. Third-party audit reports, SOC, ISO, plus Entra sign-in, plus NDA requirement, uniquely identifies the Service Trust Portal as Microsoft's attestation document store. Access requires Entra authentication and NDA acceptance for full documents. Question 4. According to the shared responsibility model, which of the following security responsibilities is always retained by the customer, regardless of whether the workload runs in IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS? Answer A, Physical Data Center Security. Answer B, Operating System Patching. Answer C. Hypervisor maintenance. Answer D. Data classification and protection. Lock in your answer. Customers always retain responsibility for their data, classification, encryption decisions, governance, and identities, endpoints, and access management across all cloud service models. Customer always owns data, identities, endpoints, and access management. Everything below the OS or platform shifts to Microsoft in cloud models. The supported choice is D, data classification and protection. Physical infrastructure and lower layers shift to Microsoft in the cloud. Question 5. A security architect needs a managed, stateful network firewall service that can inspect both east-west and north-south traffic inside Azure, support threat intelligence, and scale without manual intervention. The service must be deployed in a dedicated subnet. Which Azure service meets these requirements? Answer A. Azure Firewall. Answer B. Azure DDoS protection. Answer C. Azure Web Application Firewall. Answer D. Network security groups. Lock in your answer. Option B is tempting, but DDoS protection provides edge L3, L4 volumetric mitigation, but is not a stateful firewall for general traffic filtering or east-west inspection inside VNets. Centralized, managed, stateful network filtering with threat intelligence points to Azure Firewall. Select A, Azure Firewall. Azure Firewall is a cloud-native, fully stateful Layer 3 through Layer 7 firewall service with built-in high availability. It is deployed in a dedicated subnet, supports threat intelligence-based filtering, and inspects both east-west and north-south traffic. Question 6. An organization is deploying autonomous AI agents that need to access corporate resources and Microsoft 365 data on behalf of users while maintaining least privilege access and full audit trails. Which Microsoft Entra capability provides purpose-built identity constructs specifically designed for these non-human AI agent identities at enterprise scale? Answer A, Microsoft Entra Workload ID. Answer B, Microsoft Entra Agent ID. Answer C, Microsoft Entra External ID. Answer D, Microsoft Entra ID. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Entra ID is the foundational cloud identity and access management service. Microsoft Entra Agent ID builds on Entra identity capabilities, but is the purpose-built framework for governed enterprise AI agent identities. Use B, Microsoft Entra Agent ID. Purpose-built creation and governance of agent identities points to Microsoft Entra Agent ID. Question 7. Which statement reflects Microsoft's privacy principles for commercial cloud customers? Answer A. Microsoft may use customer content for advertising when analytics features are enabled. Answer B. Privacy protections begin when a customer retrieves audit evidence from the Service Trust portal. Answer C. Customers control their data, receive transparency about its use, and receive security and third-party access protections. Answer D. The customer is responsible for Microsoft's provider privacy commitments. Lock in your answer. The best fit is C. Customers control their data, receive transparency about its use, and receive security and third-party access protections. Customer control, transparency about location and use, security at rest and in transit, and protection from third-party access are Microsoft privacy principles. Microsoft's commercial cloud privacy principles emphasize customer control of data, transparency about data location and use, security for data at rest and in transit, and protection from third-party access. Microsoft states that customer data is not used for advertising or market research. Question 8. Which two design choices best demonstrate defense in depth for an internet-facing Azure application? Each correct answer represents an independent security layer. Answer A. Use a web application firewall to inspect HTTP requests for common web exploits. Answer B. Encrypt sensitive data so a network control failure does not expose readable records. Answer C. Configure CPU and availability alerts for the application hosts. Answer D. Replicate the application to a second region for disaster recovery. Answer E. Place development and production resources in separate resource groups. Lock in your answer. Why not C? Operational monitoring detects resource conditions but does not add an independent protective security layer. Defense in-depth questions should combine independent controls from different layers, such as application inspection plus data encryption. Choose A and B. A. Use a web application firewall to inspect HTTP requests for common web exploits. B. Encrypt sensitive data so a network control failure does not expose readable records. Defense in-depth uses independent controls at multiple layers. A WAF protects the application layer, while encryption protects the data layer. If one control fails, the other layer continues to reduce risk. Question 9. A development team wants to protect several web applications hosted behind Azure Application Gateway and Azure Front Door from common exploits such as SQL injection and cross-site scripting without modifying application code. Which Azure capability provides centralized, managed, rule-based protection at Layer 7 for these scenarios? Answer A. Azure DDoS Protection. Answer B. Azure Firewall Premium. Answer C. Azure Network Security Groups. Answer D. Azure Web Application Firewall. Lock in your answer. When the question specifies Layer 7, Web Applications, SQL Injection/XSS, or Deployment with Application Gateway/Front Door, select WAF. Azure WAF delivers centralized L7 protection against common web exploits, SQLi, XSS, etc., via Managed Rule Sets, OWASP, and is explicitly supported on Application Gateway and Front Door. The supported choice is D, Azure Web Application Firewall. Question 10. An organization maintains an on-premises Active Directory domain services forest and wants users to authenticate to both on-premises resources and Microsoft 365/Azure Cloud services using a single set of credentials. Which approach enables this unified identity experience across environments? Answer A. Microsoft Entra Connect synchronization. Answer B. Microsoft Entra Domain Services. Answer C. Microsoft Entra External ID. Answer D. Active Directory Federation Services used as a provisioning mechanism. Lock in your answer. Hybrid identity is achieved via provisioning and synchronization, Microsoft Entra Connect, that keeps on-premises ADDS identities in sync with Entra ID, enabling a common user identity for authentication and authorization regardless of location. Look for references to on-premises ADDS plus cloud, or single set of credentials across environments. The correct choice emphasizes synchronization/provisioning via Entra Connect. The supported choice is A, Microsoft Entra Connect synchronization. Question 11. A security administrator needs a single location to view an organization's overall compliance posture, manage data classification, configure data loss prevention policies, and run audit searches across Microsoft 365 services. Which Microsoft portal provides this unified experience? Answer A, Microsoft 365 Defender portal. Answer B, Microsoft Purview portal. Answer C, Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Answer D, Azure portal. Lock in your answer. Look for the single pane that surfaces both Compliance Manager assessments and Purview data governance tools in one navigation experience. The Microsoft Purview portal is the unified hub that brings together information protection, data lifecycle management, DLP, insider risk, e-discovery, audit, and compliance manager for customer-managed compliance and governance across Microsoft 365 and other environments. Choose B, Microsoft Purview portal. Question 12. Match each Zero Trust guiding principle with its correct description. Item 1. Verify explicitly. Item 2. Use least privilege access. Item 3. Assume breach. Description 1. Limit access with JIT, JEA, and risk-based policies to minimize exposure. Description 2. Always authenticate and authorize every request using all available signals. Description 3. Segment access and use encryption plus monitoring to limit blast radius. Lock in your answer. Here is the completed map. Verify explicitly matches always authenticate and authorize every request using all available signals. Use least privilege access matches limit access with JIT, JEA, and risk-based policies to minimize exposure. Assume breach matches segment access and use encryption plus monitoring to limit blast radius. Zero trust replaces implicit trust with 3 principles. Verify every request explicitly, grant only the minimum necessary access, and design assuming a breach has already occurred so that segmentation and monitoring contain damage. Match the principal name directly to its action-oriented description. Avoid conflating any principle with defense in-depth layering. Question 13. An organization wants to divide an Azure address space into separate network zones for production, development, and databases so that different traffic control policies can be applied to each zone. Which Azure construct provides that foundational segmentation structure? Answer A, a public IP address for each workload. Answer B, Azure DDoS protection. Answer C, subnets within an Azure virtual network. Answer D, Azure Key Vault. Lock in your answer. Select C, subnets within an Azure virtual network. Subnets define zones inside a VNet. NSGs and other controls then enforce traffic policy between those zones. Subnets divide a virtual network address space into separate segments, where controls such as network security groups and route tables can be applied. Azure routes traffic between subnets by default, so subnets provide the segmentation structure while NSGs or other controls enforce the desired restrictions. Question 14. A company wants to enable users to sign in to Microsoft 365 resources using a phishing-resistant method that does not require a password or one-time codes. Which authentication method meets this requirement while also supporting passwordless primary authentication? Answer A, SMS-based verification. Answer B, Microsoft Authenticator push notification. Answer C, voice call verification. Answer D, FIDO2 security key or passkey. Lock in your answer. FIDO2 security keys and passkeys use public key cryptography bound to the legitimate sign-in origin. The supported response is D, FIDO2 security key or passkey. Look for the method explicitly described as phishing resistant and capable of passwordless primary sign-in. During authentication, the authenticator signs a challenge, and Microsoft Entra verifies it with the registered public key. No reusable password or one-time code is sent, making these methods phishing resistant. This category includes device-bound security keys and passkeys, as well as synced passkeys, so key storage and synchronization behavior depends on the passkey type. Push MFA and telephony methods improve security over passwords, but are not phishing resistant. Question 15. An organization needs to assess its compliance against multiple regulatory standards, track improvement actions with risk-weighted scoring, and generate reports for auditors. The solution must differentiate between Microsoft-managed and customer-managed controls. Which Microsoft Purview capability provides this functionality? Answer A, Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager. Answer B, Microsoft Purview Audit Search. Answer C, Microsoft Purview eDiscovery. Answer D, Microsoft Purview Data Lifecycle Management. Lock in your answer. Option B is tempting, but Audit Search provides activity logs, but does not perform compliance assessments or calculate risk-weighted scores. select the tool that lives inside Purview, distinguishes Microsoft versus customer controls, and produces a risk-based compliance score from completed actions. Choose A, Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager. Compliance Manager inside the Microsoft Purview portal supplies pre-built and custom assessments for regulations and standards, tracks improvement actions, Microsoft managed versus customer managed, calculates a risk-based compliance score, and supports audit reporting. Question 16. For each data type, select the protection method that best fits the operational need. Answer A, hash both the medical record and the user password. Answer B, encrypt the medical record. Store a salted one-way hash of the password. Answer C, encrypt both the medical record and the password with recoverable keys. Answer D, hash the medical record, encrypt the password so it can be recovered. Lock in your answer. Encryption is reversible with the correct key, so it is appropriate when authorized users or systems must recover the original medical record. If the original value must be recovered, think encryption. If a one-way comparison is required, think hashing. The supported response is B. Encrypt the medical record. Store a salted one-way hash of the password. Hashing is one-way and supports verification without recovering the original input. For password storage, a unique random salt should be added before hashing, so identical passwords produce different hashes, and pre-computed rainbow table attacks are ineffective. Question 17. An inbound TCP flow is established through an NSG allow rule. While the connection remains active, an administrator adds a deny rule with a lower numeric priority value than the allow rule. So the deny rule has higher priority. What happens to the already established session? Answer A. NSGs are stateless and require separate allow rules for return traffic. Answer B. NSG rule priority is re-evaluated for each packet in an established session. Answer C. NSGs are stateful and maintain flow records for established connections. Answer D. Application security groups take precedence over NSG flow state. Lock in your answer. Focus on stateful versus stateless behavior and flow records. Distinguish from priority ordering, default rules, or augmented rule syntax. Network security groups are stateful. The best fit is C. NSGs are stateful and maintain flow records for established connections. When a connection is allowed, a flow record is created. Existing connections remain uninterrupted, even if rules change or a deny rule is added later. New connections would be evaluated against the updated rules. Question 18. Which two statements accurately describe Microsoft Entra multifactor authentication? Answer A. It replaces authorization by deciding which Azure resources an authenticated user can manage. Answer B. Passwordless authentication and multifactor authentication are mutually exclusive categories. Answer C. It can be required through conditional access policies in response to access signals and conditions. Answer D. MFA strengthens passwords by applying banned password lists during password changes. Answer E. It requires verification from two or more factor categories, such as something you know, have, or are. Lock in your answer. Why not A? Authorization and RBAC determine what an authenticated identity may access. MFA strengthens verification of the identity. MFA combines independent factor categories. Conditional access decides when stronger verification is required. The two supported controls are C and E. C. It can be required through conditional access policies in response to access signals and conditions. E. It requires verification from two or more factor categories, such as something you know, have, or are. Microsoft Entra MFA strengthens authentication by requiring two or more forms of verification from different factor categories. Conditional access can require MFA when policy conditions and signals call for stronger verification. Question 19. How does the compliance score in Microsoft Purview Compliance Manager help an organization prioritize compliance work? Answer A. It reports the regulations selected by the organization. Answer B. It duplicates Microsoft Defender for Cloud Secure Score for Azure resources. Answer C. It certifies that the organization is legally compliant once the score reaches a fixed threshold. Answer D. It awards risk-weighted points for completed improvement actions, so teams can focus on actions with greater potential risk reduction. Lock in your answer. The supported choice is D. It awards risk-weighted points for completed improvement actions, so teams can focus on actions with greater potential risk reduction. Compliance score prioritizes risk reduction work through improvement actions. It is not a certification or a cloud security score. Compliance score summarizes progress on risk-weighted improvement actions. It helps teams compare priorities and focus effort, but it is not a guarantee or legal certification of compliance. Question 20. An organization is adopting Microsoft Cloud Services and must maintain regulatory adherence for data handling. Which statement correctly distinguishes GRC concepts from the technical controls defined in the shared responsibility model? Answer A. GRC is the organizational framework for governance, risk management, and compliance, while shared responsibility defines which party operates specific cloud controls. Answer B. In a SaaS model, Microsoft assumes the customer's governance, risk assessment, and regulatory compliance duties. Answer C. GRC is a collection of technical controls, such as MFA, federation, SSPR, and conditional access, rather than an organizational framework. Answer D. Downloading Microsoft attestations from the Service Trust portal replaces the customer's own risk assessments and control mapping. Lock in your answer. GRC represents the customer's organizational approach to governance, policies and oversight, risk, assessment and mitigation, and compliance, regulatory requirements. Choose A. GRC is the organizational framework for governance, risk management, and compliance, while shared responsibility defines which party operates specific cloud controls. Separate organizational GRC framework, policies, risk/regulatory from the technical shared responsibility boundaries. Customer always owns data, identities/access. Avoid assuming Microsoft assumes GRC ownership. The shared responsibility model clarifies technical ownership boundaries. Customers always own data classification, identities, access management, and compliance decisions, while Microsoft manages the underlying infrastructure, physical security, and certain platform controls, depending on IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Question 21. A security administrator needs to enable secure remote management of Azure virtual machines without exposing them to the public internet or requiring public IP addresses on the VMs themselves. Connections must use RDP or SSH over TLS on port 443 and protect against port scanning. Which Azure service fulfills these requirements as a fully managed PaaS jump host deployed inside the virtual network? Answer A, Azure Firewall. Answer B, Azure Bastion. Answer C, just-in-time VM access via Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Answer D, Azure VPN Gateway. Lock in your answer. Azure Bastion is a fully managed service that provides secure RDP and SSH connectivity to virtual machines over TLS from the Azure portal or supported native clients. The supported response is B, Azure Bastion, a managed RDP SSH proxy over TLS that lets target VMs remain on private IP addresses points to Azure Bastion. JITE instead limits when management ports are reachable. Target virtual machines can retain private IP addresses, while Bastion acts as the managed access proxy in the virtual network. Question 22. An organization wants to prevent users from choosing commonly attacked passwords and organization-specific terms, such as its brand and office locations. Which Microsoft Entra capability evaluates new or changed passwords against Microsoft's global banned list and an optional custom banned list? Answer A, Microsoft Entra Conditional Access. Answer B, Self-Service Password Reset, SSPR. Answer C, Microsoft Entra Password Protection. Answer D, Microsoft Entra ID Protection Risk-Based Policies. Lock in your answer. The distractor is A. Conditional access evaluates signals such as user risk, device compliance, or location to grant or block access. It does not validate or block specific passwords during creation or reset. Global and tenant-specific banned password lists during password change or reset point to Microsoft Entra Password Protection. The supported choice is C, Microsoft Entra Password Protection. Microsoft Entra Password Protection evaluates password changes and resets against a Microsoft-managed global banned password list. Organizations can supplement it with a custom banned list for terms relevant to their environment, and hybrid deployments can extend protection to on-premises Active Directory domain services. You have completed 22 questions. Take a breath, reset your attention, and continue when you are ready. In the remaining questions, keep separating product purpose from nearby features, and choose the answer that satisfies the exact wording of the scenario. Question 23. A compliance team needs to discover and categorize sensitive content, such as payment card numbers, national identification numbers, and organization-specific patterns before applying protection policies. Which Microsoft Purview capability supplies sensitive information types? Exact data match, document fingerprinting, and trainable classifiers. Answer A, sensitivity labels. Answer B, data loss prevention, DLP policies. Answer C, retention label policies. Answer D, data classification. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Purview Data Classification identifies and categorizes sensitive content using mechanisms such as sensitive information types, exact data match, document fingerprinting, and trainable classifiers. Sensitive information types, SITs, trainable classifiers, exact data match, or document fingerprinting for discovering sensitive content points to data classification in Purview, labels enforce protection, DLP monitors/enforces, retention manages lifecycle. The answer is D, data classification. Labels, DLP, and retention capabilities can then use classification results for protection or governance. Question 24. Why is identity treated as the primary security perimeter in a zero-trust cloud environment? Answer A. Requests can be evaluated with identity, device, risk, and access signals, regardless of network location. Answer B, because identities eliminate the need for network, application, and data layer controls. Answer C, because network location can be treated as the primary trust signal for cloud access requests. Answer D, because a successful authentication result can stand in for resource-specific authorization checks. Lock in your answer. Identity becomes the perimeter because access decisions follow the identity and request context instead of trusting a network location. Cloud access no longer remains inside a fixed network boundary. The supported choice is A. Requests can be evaluated with identity, device, risk, and access signals, regardless of network location. Identity and related signals allow each request to be explicitly verified and authorized, regardless of where it originates, while other defensive layers continue to provide protection. Question 25. Which two capabilities are provided by Azure Key Vault? Choose two. Answer A, centralized management of secrets, keys, and certificates with identity-based authorization. Answer B, managed identities for application-to-service authentication. Answer C, support for software-protected and HSM-protected keys in the appropriate offering. Answer D, Defender for Key Vault alerts about suspicious access to an existing vault. Answer E, Azure App Configuration Storage for non-secret application settings. Lock in your answer. A and C work together here. A. Centralized management of secrets, keys, and certificates with identity-based authorization. C. Support for software-protected and HSM-protected keys in the appropriate offering. Centralized secret/key/certificate storage and optional HSM protection point to Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault centrally stores and controls access to secrets, keys, and certificates. Depending on the offering and key type, keys can be software protected or HSM protected. Question 26. An organization needs to enforce access to a cloud application based on real-time signals, including user risk level, device compliance status, and sign-in location, while allowing productivity when signals are trusted. Which Microsoft Entra capability evaluates these signals to make grant or block decisions after initial authentication? Answer A. Microsoft Entra Role-Based Access Control, RBAC. Answer B. Microsoft Entra Conditional Access. Answer C. Microsoft Entra ID Protection. Answer D. Microsoft Entra Security Defaults. Lock in your answer. Do not choose A. RBAC assigns permissions to roles for managing resources and identities at tenant or resource scope. It does not evaluate runtime signals like risk or device state to control access to applications. Use B. Microsoft Entra Conditional Access. Microsoft Entra Conditional Access is the zero trust policy engine that aggregates signals: user, group, agent, IP location, device state, application, real-time risk from ID protection, and Defender for Cloud apps, and enforces decisions such as require MFA, block access, or require compliant device after first-factor authentication completes. Question 27. A compliance team wants visibility into which files and emails have been classified with sensitivity labels across the tenant, and how those labels plus DLP policies are being applied in practice. Which Microsoft Purview tools provide this monitoring without performing searches or e-discovery? Answer A. E-discovery search and audit search in the Purview portal. Answer B. Compliance Manager assessments and compliance score dashboard. Answer C. Content Explorer for classified items and Activity Explorer for label/DLP events. Answer D. Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps Session Monitoring. Lock in your answer. The supported response is C. Content Explorer for classified items and Activity Explorer for label/DLP events. Visibility into labeled/classified items and label/DLP events without search points to Content Explorer plus Activity Explorer in Purview Information Protection. Content Explorer shows items that have been labeled or classified by sensitive info types or trainable classifiers. Activity Explorer shows events related to label application, changes, and DLP policy matches, giving visibility into how protection is being used across the environment. Question 28. A security team needs one Microsoft service to assess cloud configurations, recommend posture improvements, and add threat protection for workloads such as servers and containers across Azure and connected multi-cloud environments. Which service should it use? Answer A. Microsoft Sentinel. Answer B. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Answer C. Microsoft Purview Information Protection. Answer D. Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Lock in your answer. Posture recommendations plus workload threat protection across cloud environments points to Defender for Cloud. Microsoft Defender for Cloud combines cloud security posture management, which assesses configurations and recommends improvements, with optional workload protection plans for resources such as servers, containers, databases, and storage across supported cloud environments. Choose D. Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Question 29. Match each Microsoft Entra RBAC concept with its function. Item 1. Role definition. Item 2, principal. Item 3, scope. Description 1, the identity, group, or service principal that receives the assignment. Description 2, the boundary within which the assignment applies. Description 3, the collection of allowed actions and permissions. Lock in your answer. Connect each concept to its function. Role definition matches the collection of allowed actions and permissions. Principal matches the identity, group, or service principal that receives the assignment. Scope matches the boundary within which the assignment applies. An RBAC assignment connects a principal to a role definition at a particular scope. The role defines allowed actions. The principal receives the assignment, and the scope limits where those permissions apply. RBAC assignment equals who receives access, principal, plus what they can do, role definition, plus where it applies, scope. Question 30. Your organization wants to classify documents and emails by applying a persistent label that can enforce configured protection, such as encryption, watermarks, and access restrictions. The label and its protection must remain with the content as it moves between supported locations. Which Microsoft Purview solution should you configure? Answer A, sensitivity labels and sensitivity label policies. Answer B, data loss prevention, DLP policies. Answer C, retention labels and retention policies. Answer D, exact data match and trainable classifiers. Lock in your answer. Sensitivity labels classify and protect supported content. Choose A, sensitivity labels and sensitivity label policies. Classification plus persistent protection, encryption, or markings that travels with content and is consumed by DLP, points to sensitivity labels, not DLP enforcement, retention lifecycle, or pure detection classifiers. Organizations create a taxonomy that fits their needs. Label names such as personal, public, general, confidential, and highly confidential are examples, not mandatory universal labels. After a sensitivity label is applied, it can enforce configured encryption, access restrictions, and content markings, and the label metadata persists with the content. Labels are published to users and services through sensitivity label policies. Question 31. A security operations team requires continuous agentless visibility into cloud resource configurations across Azure, AWS, and GCP, along with prioritized recommendations mapped to security benchmarks and a secure score to track posture improvement. Which Microsoft Defender for Cloud capability delivers exactly this without runtime workload agents or threat detection? Answer A, Cloud Workload Protection, CWP, plans for servers and containers. Answer B, Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, with foundational and Defender plans. Answer C, Microsoft Sentinel Analytics and Fusion rules for threat detection. Answer D, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, EDR, and Vulnerability Assessment. Lock in your answer. Cloud Security Posture Management in Defender for Cloud discovers cloud resources, assesses them against security standards, produces security recommendations, and contributes to Secure Score. Agentless multi-cloud configuration discovery plus benchmark recommendations plus Secure Score, not runtime EDR or log analytics, points directly to CSPM foundational/Defender plans. Select B, Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, with foundational and Defender plans. It focuses on posture and risk reduction across Azure and connected multi-cloud environments, while workload protection capabilities focus on runtime threats. Question 32. An organization needs to automate identity lifecycle from HR systems, enable business owners to manage guest access requests via approval workflows, and run recurring access certifications for groups and applications. Which Microsoft Entra capability set provides the combined identity lifecycle, access lifecycle, and privileged access governance controls? Answer A, Microsoft Entra Conditional Access Policies. Answer B, Microsoft Entra ID Protection, Risk Detection, and Remediation. Answer C. Microsoft Entra ID governance. Answer D. Microsoft Entra roles and Azure RBAC assignments. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Entra ID governance combines controls across the identity, access, and privileged access lifecycles. The answer is C. Microsoft Entra ID governance. HR-driven identity automation plus business owner access requests plus recurring reviewer attestations for groups/apps/roles points to the full ID governance suite, not single signal enforcement or risk detection alone. Inbound provisioning from HR sources can create and maintain identities. Lifecycle workflows automate tasks around joiner, mover, and leaver events. Entitlement management provides requestable access packages with approvals and expiration. Access reviews recertify access and can provide AI-assisted suggestions. And PIM provides just-in-time, time-bound privileged role activation. Question 33. A compliance team wants to prevent users from emailing or uploading documents containing credit card numbers or health records to external recipients or unmanaged locations, while allowing internal sharing with policy tips and justification overrides. Which Microsoft Purview capability enforces these monitoring and protective actions across Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and devices? Answer A. Sensitivity labels and label policies. Answer B. Retention labels and records management. Answer C. eDiscovery holds and content search. Answer D. Microsoft Purview data loss prevention. Lock in your answer. Why not A? Sensitivity labels classify and protect content, encryption, markings, access restrictions that travel with the item. They can be used as conditions in DLP, but do not themselves monitor exfiltration channels or apply block warn actions at egress points. Choose D. Microsoft Purview data loss prevention. DLP policies in Microsoft Purview use sensitive information types, keywords, regex, ML, proximity, and sensitivity labels as conditions to monitor and protect data at rest, in use, and in motion across Microsoft 365 locations, devices, on-premises, and cloud apps. Actions include audit, warn, restrict, block, or quarantine at supported locations. All matches are audited and visible in Activity Explorer. Question 34. Which two mechanisms does Microsoft Defender for Cloud use to translate security policies and standards into improved cloud security posture? Choose 2. Answer A. Compliance Manager assessments and improvement actions in Microsoft Purview. Answer B. Security policies map to standards that assess resources and generate recommendations. Answer C. Defender workload protection plans that detect runtime threats in servers and containers. Answer D. Microsoft Sentinel analytics rules and response playbooks for security incidents. Answer E. Remediation guidance and governance rules that assign owners and due dates. Lock in your answer. The two supported controls are B and E. B. Security policies map to standards that assess resources and generate recommendations. E. Remediation guidance and governance rules that assign owners and due dates. Continuous assessment via mapped policies and standards, producing recommendations plus governance-driven remediation at scale, owner and due date, are the two core posture improvement mechanisms. Regulatory dashboard and Purview are separate layers. Defender for Cloud maps built-in Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark and custom policies and standards to resources, continuously assesses configurations, and produces security recommendations with remediation guidance. Governance rules enable assignment of owners and due dates to drive remediation at scale. These directly improve secure score and posture. Regulatory compliance and Purview Compliance Manager are parallel but distinct surfaces. Question 35. A group owner must periodically confirm whether employees and guests still need membership in a Microsoft 365 group that grants access to sensitive content. Which Microsoft Entra capability supports this recurring attestation and can remove access that reviewers deny? Answer A. Microsoft Entra access reviews for groups, applications, and roles with reviewer attestation. Answer B. Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management, PIM, role activation with time-bound approvals. Answer C. Entitlement Management Access Packages with one-time request and approval workflows. Answer D. Dynamic Group Membership Rules based on user attributes from HR. Lock in your answer. Recurring reviewer attestation of existing group, application, or role access points to access reviews. PIM handles privileged activation and entitlement management handles packaged access requests. Microsoft Entra Access Reviews support recurring review of group memberships, application assignments, and role assignments. The best fit is A. Microsoft Entra Access Reviews for groups, applications, and roles with reviewer attestation. Designated reviewers attest whether access should continue, and review results can be applied to remove access that is no longer needed. Question 36. A financial organization must formally declare regulatory documents as records, restrict editing and deletion during the retention period, review disposition at the end of that period, and preserve evidence of record-related actions. Which Microsoft Purview capability should it use? Answer A. Sensitivity labels with encryption and access restrictions. Answer B. Retention labels configured to mark items as records or regulatory records. Answer C. Data loss prevention, DLP, policies with block and warn actions. Answer D. Microsoft Purview eDiscovery, holds, and content search. Lock in your answer. The best fit is B. Retention labels configured to mark items as records or regulatory records. Formal record declaration, retention restrictions, file plans, and disposition review point to Purview Records Management. Microsoft Purview Records Management uses retention labels that can mark items as records or regulatory records. Record settings restrict changes and deletion, support file plans and disposition reviews, and retain evidence of record management activity. These controls are distinct from sensitivity labeling, DLP, and eDiscovery. Question 37. A cloud security team requires runtime threat detection on virtual machines and containers, vulnerability assessments, just-in-time network access, file integrity monitoring, and behavioral threat protection for workloads across Azure, AWS, and on-premises. Which Microsoft Defender for Cloud component specifically delivers these enhanced workload protection capabilities beyond posture assessment and recommendations? Answer A. Foundational Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, with secure score and recommendations. Answer B. Microsoft Sentinel analytics rules and automation for incident response. Answer C. Cloud Workload Protection Platform, CWPP, through plans such as Defender for Servers and Defender for Containers. Answer D. Microsoft Defender XDR Unified Portal with signal correlation across endpoints and email. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Defender for Cloud provides cloud workload protection platform capabilities for servers, containers, and other workloads. Runtime threat detection, vulnerability assessments, just-in-time network access, file integrity monitoring on workloads across Azure, AWS, on-premises, distinguishes CWPP workload protections from pure CSPM posture or SIEM correlation. C satisfies the requirement. Cloud Workload Protection Platform, CWPP, through plans such as Defender for Servers and Defender for Containers. These capabilities include runtime threat detection, vulnerability assessment, just-in-time access, file integrity monitoring, and workload-specific protections. This boundary is distinct from CSPM, which evaluates posture and recommendations. Question 38. An administrator wants a user to activate a privileged Microsoft Entra role only when needed, with approval, MFA, a limited activation period, justification, and audit history, instead of continuous privileged access. Which capability provides these controls? Answer A. Microsoft Entra Role-Based Access Control, RBAC, with permanent active assignments. Answer B. Microsoft Entra Conditional Access Policies, evaluating sign-in risk and location. Answer C. Microsoft Entra ID Protection, User Risk and Sign-in Risk Policies. Answer D. Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management, PIM, Eligible Assignments and Activation Workflows. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management, PIM, allows administrators to create eligible, not active role assignments for Microsoft Entra roles and Azure resources. Choose D. Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management, PIM, Eligible Assignments and Activation Workflows. Eligible assignment plus just-in-time, approved, time-limited role activation points to Microsoft Entra PIM. Users must activate the role, CHIT, subject to configurable settings including approval requirements, MFA, time limits, and justification. All activations are audited. This provides least privilege, time-bound access for privileged roles instead of permanent assignments. Question 39. Which statement correctly distinguishes SIEM from SOAR in security operations? Answer A. SIEM retains and correlates security data. SOAR coordinates and automates response workflows. Answer B. SIEM and SOAR are separated by data location. SIEM handles cloud telemetry, while SOAR handles on-premises telemetry. Answer C. SOAR replaces the need for a SIEM by retaining raw security telemetry and correlating events before response. Answer D. A SIEM centralizes and correlates security events, while automated playbooks are unrelated to SOAR capability. Lock in your answer. Reject B, because data location does not distinguish SIEM from SOAR. SIEM handles security data collection and analysis, while SOAR coordinates response workflows across environments. SIEM is data collection, correlation, and detection. SOAR is orchestration and automated response. That leads to A. SIEM retains and correlates security data. SOAR coordinates and automates response workflows. A SIEM centralizes and analyzes security data for detection, investigation, hunting, and incident visibility. SOAR orchestrates tools and automates response processes through workflows such as playbooks. Microsoft Sentinel combines both capability areas. Question 40. A security administrator is evaluating Microsoft Entra ID protection to address identity-based threats. Which two capabilities does Entra ID protection directly provide for detecting identity risks and enabling remediation? Choose exactly two. Answer A. Detection of identity-related risk events, including signals such as anonymous IP activity, password spray, and leaked credentials. Answer B. Direct enforcement of sign-in risk and user risk access decisions through ID protection grant controls. Answer C. Risky sign-in reports and risky user reports represent the same risk state and can be used interchangeably. Answer D. Generation of risk detections, risky sign-ins, and risky users reports with investigation tools. Answer E. Just-in-time activation and approval workflows for privileged roles based on an identity risk level. Lock in your answer. Identity risk detections plus risky user and risky sign-in investigation reports point to Entra ID protection. Conditional access acts on the resulting risk signals. Microsoft Entra ID protection identifies identity-related risk events and surfaces risk detections, risky sign-ins, and risky users for investigation. The two supported controls are A and D. A. Detection of identity-related risk events, including signals such as anonymous IP activity, password spray, and leaked credentials. D. Generation of risk detections, risky sign-ins, and risky users reports with investigation tools. Some detections occur in real time, and others are calculated offline. Risk levels can be used by conditional access policies for remediation actions, such as requiring stronger authentication or blocking access. Question 41. A security operations center needs to ingest logs from Microsoft Entra ID, Azure resources, and third-party firewalls, correlate them using KQL and machine learning, detect multi-stage attacks via Fusion Analytics, and automate incident response with playbooks. Which Microsoft service delivers the SIEM and SOAR capabilities required? Answer A. Microsoft Defender XDR. Answer B. Microsoft Sentinel. Answer C. Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Answer D. Azure Monitor. Lock in your answer. Broad first and third-party connector ingestion, plus Sentinel Fusion and Logic Apps playbooks identify Microsoft Sentinel. KQL hunting, or KQL-based detections alone, do not distinguish Sentinel from Microsoft Defender XDR. Microsoft Sentinel is the required SIEM/SOAR because it collects broad first and third-party data through connectors, applies security analytics including Sentinel Fusion for multi-stage correlation, creates incidents, and orchestrates response with automation rules and Azure Logic Apps playbooks. The best fit is B, Microsoft Sentinel. Microsoft Defender XDR also supports KQL advanced hunting, custom detections, and automated investigation and response. So KQL is not the discriminator. Question 42. An attacker sends a malicious link in Microsoft Teams. A user opens it on a managed laptop and ransomware begins executing. Which two Microsoft Defender services provide the workload-specific controls to inspect or block the malicious collaboration link and then detect and contain the endpoint activity? Choose exactly two. Answer A, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Answer B, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Answer C, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. Answer D, Microsoft Defender for Identity. Answer E, Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. Lock in your answer. The distractor is C. Defender for Cloud Apps governs and protects SaaS app usage, but the scenario specifically requires malicious Teams link protection and endpoint EDR containment. A malicious Microsoft 365 collaboration link maps to Defender for Office 365. Ransomware execution and containment on the device map to Defender for Endpoint. The two supported controls are A and B. A, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. B, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Defender for Office 365 protects Microsoft 365 email and collaboration workloads with controls such as safe links and safe attachments. Defender for Endpoint provides endpoint detection and response and containment on the managed laptop. Defender XDR correlates the resulting signals into a unified incident. Question 43. An organization experiences frequent phishing emails with malicious attachments and impersonated executive messages targeting Microsoft 365 mailboxes and Teams. They already have baseline EOP features. Which Microsoft Defender service adds safe attachments, safe links, impersonation protection specifically for email and collaboration workloads? Answer A, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Answer B, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. Answer C, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Answer D, Microsoft Defender for Identity. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Defender for Office 365 adds safe attachments, safe links, anti-phishing and impersonation protection, and investigation capabilities for email and collaboration workloads on top of baseline Exchange Online protection. Select C, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Safe links, safe attachments, impersonation protection, and collaboration protection point to Defender for Office 365. Question 44. A security team requires real-time endpoint detection and response, EDR, attack surface reduction rules, ransomware protection, and vulnerability management across Windows, macOS, Linux, Android, and iOS devices, with signals feeding into a unified incident queue. Which service delivers this endpoint-focused capability? Answer A, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Answer B, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. Answer C, Microsoft Defender for Identity. Answer D, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Lock in your answer. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is the unified endpoint security platform, providing next-generation protection, EDR, attack surface reduction, ASR, automated investigation and response, vulnerability management, and cross-platform support that contributes signals to Microsoft Defender XDR incidents. EDR, ASR, multi-OS endpoint coverage, and vulnerability management on devices point to Defender for Endpoint. Other Defender products address email, SaaS, or identity workloads. That leads to D, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Question 45. An organization needs to discover unsanctioned SaaS applications, shadow IT, assess app risk, apply session controls, govern OAuth apps, and detect anomalous user behavior within cloud apps as part of XDR correlation. Which Microsoft Defender service provides these CASB and SSPM capabilities? Answer A, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. Answer B, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Answer C, Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Answer D, Microsoft Defender for Identity. Lock in your answer. Choose A, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, Shadow IT Discovery, OAuth App Governance, Session Controls, and SSPM for SaaS workloads point to Defender for Cloud Apps. Other products address endpoints, email, or on-prem identity. Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps is the CASB solution within XDR that delivers app discovery and risk assessment, SaaS Security Posture Management, SSPM, information protection / DLP integration, adaptive access controls, app governance for OAuth apps, UEBA, and integration into unified Defender incidents. You have completed all 45 questions in SC-900 Practice Exam 1. You practiced identifying security layers, identity controls, Microsoft Defender capabilities, Microsoft Purview solutions, compliance resources, and zero trust principles. Review the distinctions you missed, then return to the exam objectives with those decision rules in mind. Thanks for practicing with WebLizard Labs and WebLizard Cert Lab. Continue with the next SC-900 practice exam when you are ready. Your final score matters less than whether you can explain why the supported answer fits the exact requirement.